Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're able to be here today for this episode of Deeper Insights, Powerful Shifts, and Better Lives. And I'm also very, very pleased to have here as my guest today, Eddie Allen. He is co-founder and senior partner at Eagle Global Advisors, which was established in 1996. He serves on the firm's management and investment committee and co-manages Eagle MLP Strategy Fund. He earned his Ph.D. in economics from the University of Chicago and a BSc in engineering from Princeton. He holds the Chartered Financial Analyst designation, is a member of the Houston CFA Society. And beyond all of those professional endeavors, Eddie serves as treasurer of the Asia Society Texas Center, is on the board of the Menil Collection. And I've known Eddie for a number of years now. It's been a real pleasure. And it's really interesting. You know people, and then you don't even know how extremely successful they are in their business lives until you actually talk about that. So under Eddie's leadership, Eagle Global Advisors has received notable accolades. In 2024, the firm was recognized as one of the top 100 financial advisors in the US by CNBC. And Eagle MLP Strategy Fund was honored as the best Energy MLP Fund over 3 years at the US Refinitiv Lipper Awards in 2023. So that's a tremendous accomplishment, Eddie. And for those reasons, and because Eddie is really one of the smartest, nicest guys around, I wanted to bring him to our space so that we can learn from him about how he sees investments and just life in general. So, Eddie, thank you for being here. Can you give us a quick intro to Eagle Global Advisors and your role within the firm?
Sure. Well, thanks, Stephanie, for having me on. Eagle Global Advisors, we're a combination investment manager and wealth advisor. Investment manager in that we actually advise a number of institutions on their investments for their clients, but also we do deal with individuals directly in our wealth management business. We're about 2.6 billion in assets under management. About 40% of that is with institutions like Eaton Vance, Northern Trust, Houston Trust Company, RBC, different financial institutions where we advise strategies that they then actually offer to their clients. And then about 60% again is where we deal with direct high net worth families. Our business is people, process, and performance. We're a people business. We have about 22 people, mainly, and the majority of them are in the investment function, overseeing our different strategies that we do for folks. And our strategies are in the public markets. We don't do private equity. We do investments in the domestic equity market and the international equity market, and then a couple of what's called liquid alternatives, like energy infrastructure, where we have a big practice, as well as business development companies, which is a way to invest in private credit, renewable infrastructure, and most recently a partnership we call Eagle Scarcity Partners, that is a way to invest in digital currencies and other sort of alternative stores of wealth. That's our people. We're very proud of our people. Our average tenure is 18 years with our firm. So people, we don't hire right away. We hire people who are typically trained at a larger firm, and we have brought them over to our firm. And we think we have a great team of client service folks, of investment folks, of back office folks. And so we've really, I think, done well. And then process. That's actually a important thing about investment management firms. What is their process by which they choose their investments? Well, we basically tailor our process to the different investment strategies. For domestic and international equities, we call our process sustainable growth at a reasonable price, where we use a number of quantitative screens and tools to identify, stocks for our team to look at more in depth and, decide whether we want to put them in our clients' portfolios. And then for the energy infrastructure, our team there is a very deep dive fundamental process there. And the bottom line is it's led to some good performance. Performance can be fleeting, so you have to be careful. But we are pleased that after, almost 30 years in the business, that our numbers hold up very well versus our peers in the indexes over the long haul. And then most recently, yeah, we've been recognized by, groups like Lipper and others for our superior performance in the energy infrastructure space for the last 3 and 5 years. And in the global equity space, our strategy have been performing above their peers for the last 3 and 5 years. So we're very pleased, and things are going well here at Eagle.
That is awesome, Eddie. Thank you. So energy markets have always been dynamic and investment markets have always been dynamic. What initially drew you into the space of deciding to start an investment company?
Well, I grew up in Houston, and my father was in the investment management business with a very large firm here in town. And anyway, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer and went off to school. And even though I got an engineering degree, I was going to do something different, but gravitated back to investments. And the nice thing about investments is it's continuous learning. There's always, something new happening in the markets. 20 years ago, it was the internet, and PCs. Today, it's artificial intelligence. And so you kind of have to, always be up on things and trying to figure things out. So it's been an interesting job. It's still trying to figure it out, and have enjoyed it.
And what would you say sets Eagle Global Advisors apart in today's market?
Um, well, again, I think our process is unique. We originally had a number of unique quantitative tools 20 years ago, when that was kind of new and different. Of course, you have to keep up with the Joneses, and things evolve, and we've developed some new quantitative tools that we help identify good investments. Now we use something called Smart IQ, where we actually survey the holdings of the best performing funds in the domestic and international spaces to get ideas for new stocks to look into. And then our team does deep dives and looks for the firms that have the right investment characteristics that we're looking for. So, and then finally, client service on the wealth management side. It's a service business. And, with my clients, it's very important to get to know their situations, their goals, their constraints. Do they have a retirement, plan that they want to deal with? Do they have a vacation home, a dream vacation home that they want to buy? And being able to help them achieve those goals is very satisfying.
Nice. So with the current economic climate, what trends are you seeing in global markets that business leaders and investors should be paying attention to?
Well, obviously, the new administration is kind of everybody's wondering what they're going to do with respect to immigration and tariffs and taxes and the like. And then obviously AI, artificial intelligence is now the big question. We've been living through this boom in the investment markets where AI was the magic word, but now it's perhaps changing a bit as the investment has matured, and we're now trying to figure out what how these companies are going to make money on this new technology, and what is really going to be the ultimate winners and losers from the new technology. And then as I say, it's sort of interesting. The U.S. has been outperforming the rest of the world for since 2009. So going on here 15 years, it's been one of the most dramatic outperformances of the U.S. versus the rest of the world in the history of, markets. So we wonder if the worm is changing a little bit. Is it time for international markets to catch up a bit? Interestingly, in the first few days of this year, international markets are catching up and beating the U.S. market. International markets are up about 5 or 6% in dollar terms, while the U.S. is up about 2 or 3%. We'll see if this is the start of a new trend or whether it's just a flash in the pan.
Hmm. Interesting. So, how does Eagle Global Advisors approach investment strategy during times of uncertainty or volatility?
Well, obviously, diversification is important. It's been called the only free lunch in the markets that exists. We favor high quality, large companies with good balance sheets who can, roll with the punches and deal with the uncertainty that occurs. And to be honest, it's working with clients, making sure that they have proper expectations. Trying to assess, people say, what is your risk tolerance? Well, that's a really, funny concept, really, when it comes to an individual. It's what makes them sleep at night. And so making sure that they're in have a portfolio with a balance so that if there is a hiccup or a bigger hiccup, that they're not going to panic and sell at the bottom. Sadly, we've seen a few people do that over the years. They say, I just can't take it. And, it's a little bit shame on us that we probably had them a little more in stocks than they wanted. Or some people, they just don't really know what it means to have volatility in stocks. And so, I think that's the important thing. A lot of it is really educating others as to what to expect when those things happen and try to, frankly, talk them through it. So you don't do something, half-cocked when you shouldn't.
Mm. So then what are some common mistakes that executives and high net worth individuals make when managing their investments, do you think?
Well, I think knowing your own limitations is very important. I tell people, to be honest, if you are, really interested in investments and really into the markets, you can do it yourself. We're like the guy who changes your oil. You can change your own oil, or you can hire somebody else to do it, and that's, what we do. We will monitor that stuff for you. That's what we do, 24/7. That's what our focus is. And then, if you're an executive or busy person, you can focus on the stuff you want to focus on. And I think that's true in business in general. Knowing your limitations as a manager when it's time to delegate to somebody else and having a proper delegation and a proper relationship with that person you've delegated, that job to. Again, with a client, it's important to have that communication so that you are, on the same page with what you're trying to achieve with who you're working with.
So for business leaders looking to build financial resilience, what key principles do you think they should prioritize in their investment strategy?
Well, obviously, I think, for resilience, you want to have the diversification. I think for also having the high quality, investments. At the same time, I mean, everybody is interested in that high flyer out there. And we think there's certainly a part of the portfolio that is appropriate for speculative investments, but you have to make sure that is properly sized relative to the rest of your portfolio. And I think that's true in conducting a business. You want to have your money-making activity, but you want to take a little risk with some of your business because that little risk sometimes pays off in a big way.
Mm-hmm. So how do you then balance long-term investment discipline with short-term market pressures?
Well, again, the key is to be patient. The key is not to panic when things don't go right. The thing is to, go back to first principles and make sure what you're doing is consistent with first principles. And if you do that, I think you'll do okay in the long run.
Oh. So, moving on a little bit, what's one piece of financial or leadership advice you wish more executives took to heart?
Um, I think again, look for the long term, stick to your principles, be flexible though. You can't be dogmatic. That's what's very hard in the investment business. You have to be humble. You have to, realize that, the world changes and you have to change with it. It's no fun to change sometimes, but unfortunately, in this world we're in, you got to.
And you've been doing it very successfully recently. I know that because of the tremendous success you're seeing in the market. So well done. Um, how then do you see the investment landscape evolving over the next 5 or 10 years?
Well, okay, the key question everybody's trying to figure out is what's the impact of artificial intelligence and how is that, who's going to be the winner, who's going to be the loser? For our business, obviously, it's very, important. Robo advisors, the computer as a financial advisor has been on the rise. Um, Personally, I don't think my business is going to really be effective because we deal with higher net worth individuals whose situations are very custom and individualized. So I think that there will always be a type of people who will want that service and need that service. I think, probably a lot of lower level analysis of investments will go away. You will be able to, ask the computer, okay, build me a high yielding cash management portfolio. What would you recommend? But again, I guess people are learning how to use AI. You can't just ask an open-ended question and get a good answer from AI. You have to be very specific. You have to know what kind of questions to ask. So that's, I think, where the world is going in the near term and probably medium term.
Mm, okay. And for those working, sorry, let me rephrase that. For those interested in working with Eagle Global Advisors, what's the best way to get started?
Just email me. You can go to our website, eagleglobal.com, and there's all this information on all our strategies and our team and ways to contact us. So happy to talk to folks about their financial situation.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. And I would really encourage anybody who's interested to reach out to Eddie. Truly, as I said, I've known Eddie just, I don't know, Eddie, how long have we known each other?
Long time, probably 15 years now.
More than that. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
think about it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's probably been at least 20. It's been a while. And Eddie and I
yeah.
are both still,
We can't date ourselves too
yeah, we're
badly.
still both 35. We've known each
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but it's been a real pleasure to have Eddie. He's a member of my Visage advisory board, and that's how I've come to know him in this business context. And of course, I'm just so impressed to know what kind of business person he is. I've known him in the community, and just as a friend for a long time. Um, Eddie, can you tell our audience just a little bit about what you feel you've gained from being a part of our Visage advisory board?
Well, I wish I'd done this 20 years ago. Like most people in business, I, was focused on my day to day. I was a portfolio manager picking stocks for individuals and dealing with their problems, but I also had a business on the side I had to build, and I didn't know anything about managing people or, creating a marketing plan or, dealing with the myriad different things you have to deal with when you have a small business or medium-sized growing business. And so, the speakers that you brought to the Vistage group, have been a great mix of folks who are telling us about the latest things in AI versus others who are, giving us the old chestnuts about how you build a successful team. And, so I've gotten a lot out of it.
Good. I'm so glad, and you bring a lot to it as well. It's just really fascinating to hear the input and the openness that everyone brings to the conversation, to opportunities that someone has, to challenges. And I feel like every single person leaves that meeting, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like every single person leaves that meeting with something new that they've learned that they can take back immediately to either improve their businesses or their lives? Is that?
I always have a list of things to do after I leave those sessions.
And that brings me to the other part of this. So, as part of Vistage, one of the things that we do at the CEO advisory board level is individual one-on-one coaching with the business leaders. And Eddie knows, of course, I know Eddie in that context, and he knows me in that context. And also separately from Vistage, I work with from just revenue all the way up to small to lower middle market companies, oftentimes primarily with the leaders, the CEOs, who if it's their company that they founded, they're brilliant, they've got a lot of skills, and all of a sudden they notice, hey, I've got this whole other set of skills that I need to be able to communicate, to be able to lead the team, to be able to see around those corners that I didn't even know were there before I got to this level of my business. And then, of course, when people are put in by private equity, there's another pressure to move very quickly. And then the opportunity to get the business set for sale, and then dealing with, okay, what's my next great future? But with Eddie and me, I'm curious, Eddie, how do you think you've benefited most from our relationship, our
Well,
coaching?
I'm a big believer in coaching. I think if you want to get better at something, you need a coach, whether it's golf or business. And for me, I'm a busy guy, and like everybody else, it's very easy to get just caught up in putting out the fires that you have to put out every day. And it's hard to sometimes, think about the big picture and think about, planning and what's the, right things to focus on. And so I think the coaching sessions that we have is a great way to put specific time in your schedule to consider those things. Am I really spending my time at its highest and best use? And what should I be thinking about in the next year or further? And so yeah, I think it's been very useful.
I'm very glad to know that.
Yeah.
Well, Eddie, thanks for making the time today. Thank you for sharing with us your insights. You're an understated kind of guy. And so I think, I think what you're doing is tremendous in the field of investments. And I'm happy that we've had this opportunity to let people gain some insights from you and to have the opportunity to reach out to you as well. And so with that, thank you again, Eddie, Eagle Global Advisors. Say again how to reach, tell people again.
Go to the website, www.eagleglobal.com, and there's all things Eagle are there. And a good contact us email is there as well.
Yeah, thank you. And that you are a relatively small firm and have made such tremendous waves in terms of investments actually all of these years. I think it is truly extraordinary, and I think people will very much benefit from getting to know you. And I appreciate knowing you as well, and we'll look
Thank you
forward.
very much, Daphne. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Eddie.
Okay. Bye-bye now.